Ideal Zarif 2023 year sewing technology. This revolution in straight stitch sewing. The world's first Ideal Zarif 2023 year double thread chain stitch technology with rotary looper. Large-scale replacement of lockstitch type 301 with a new double thread chain stitch type 401. Inventor, PhD Zarif Sharifovich Tajibarev, mechanical engineer, founder and director of Zarif Sewing Machine Company, Limited. Fundraising campaign to bring to market the Ideal Zarif 2023 year sewing technology. That revolution in straight stitch sewing. In 1994, we revolutionized sewing technology with the creation of the Zarif double thread chain stitch technology using a rotary looper. This breakthrough was officially recognized in 2000 with US patent number 6095069. It has taken us almost 26 years to perfect this innovative technology, making it the world's first ideal solution for sewing straight stitches. To achieve this, we first developed a prototype Zarif sewing machine based on our new technology in 1997. We modified an industrial lockstitch sewing machine, Class 1022, Orsha, Belarus, to carry out our initial trials. Through extensive testing, we identified areas for improvement and gradually improved the machine by applying our expertise. Finally, in 2023, we successfully created the world's first Ideal Zarif technology for straight stitch sewing. We now need financial support to develop an industrial version of the Zarif sewing machine based on our prototype and to start production to bring it to market. We have set up a fundraising page on our company website where anyone can make a contribution to help us bring our innovative product to market. We need your support. You can donate any amount to help us reach our goal. If your donation is $10 or more, you'll automatically receive a pre-order for the industrial version of the Zarif sewing machine at a 10% discount as soon as it's produced. The number of discounted machines you can purchase depends on your donation. For example, a donation of $50 entitles you to 5 machines at a discounted price. Why Zarif sewing machine? The Zarif sewing machine is the world's first machine with a very simple mechanical design. It can sew a wide range of materials up to 8 mm thick with a short needle bar stroke of 32 mm without any adjustments. It ensures consistent stitch quality without skipped stitches, thread breakage, needle breakage and needle point deformation. What's more, the machine allows you to easily switch between needle sizes from number 130 to number 60 without any adjustments. You'll also be the first to sew with our new double thread chain stitch, type 401, with loops turned 180 degrees so that the underside of the chain stitch seam looks more like a thick thread along the seam than a chain of threads. You will also be able to join any materials tightly for the first time with a chain stitch seam and tack the end of the chain stitch seam securely with condensed stitches of 0.5 mm stitch length. Early access for supporters. Anyone who donates $10 or more will receive exclusive early access to the industrial version of the Zarif sewing machine at a reduced price, before it's available to the public. This ensures that our early supporters can benefit from the innovation they have helped bring to life. Join us in advancing sewing technology. Your support will help us revolutionize the sewing industry. Together we can bring the Zarif sewing machine to market, offering an innovative solution that delivers superior stitch quality, versatility, and simplicity. Help us make this technological breakthrough a reality. Video demonstration without revealing the know-how. Demonstration of quality sewing of various materials without any adjustments after setting the normal thread tension for all threads. Our prototype of the innovative Zarif double thread chain stitch sewing machine works on the basis of our Ideal Zarif 2023 year double thread chain stitch technology with a rotary looper. For the sewing demonstration, we will be using sewing threads made in China. The main requirement is the absence of knots, as knots disrupt the stitch formation process as they cannot pass through the eye of the needle. During sewing, the top thread tensioner nut and the bottom thread tensioner nut, not shown, remain in a fixed position, ensuring the normal thread tension, neither too loose nor too tight. In our Ideal Zarif 2023 year double thread chain stitch technology, the needle is not involved in pre-tightening the top thread loop from the previous stitch. As a result, for the first time ever, a double thread chain stitch sewing machine uses a needle with a one long groove. This design offers greater resistance to bending compared to the double groove needle used in existing double thread and multi-thread chain stitch technologies. Thanks to our Ideal Zarif 2023 year sewing technology, it has become possible for the first time in the world to reduce the length of the double thread chain stitch to 0.5 mm. This allows for a more secure tacking of the chain stitch seam end and prevents unraveling due to condensed stitches at a stitch length of 0.5 mm. Streamlined design with innovative rotary looper. The world's first sewing machine with an exceptionally simple mechanical design, made possible by the incorporation of a rotary looper, 2 rotary twin-disc cam thread take-ups, a simple needle crank slider mechanism and the absence of needle guards. Revolutionary chain stitch look. This pioneering double-thread chain stitch sewing machine produces a new double-thread chain stitch type 401 in which the loops of the top and bottom threads are rotated 180 degrees. This innovative design makes the underside of the chain stitch look like a thick thread running along the seam, rather than a chain of threads, due to the use of a rotary looper. One long groove needle for maximum strength. For the first time, a double-thread chain stitch sewing machine uses a needle with one long groove to produce a double-thread chain stitch type 401, which offers greater flexural strength than a needle with two long grooves used in existing double-thread and multi-thread chain stitch technologies. Easily sew combinations of different materials. The world's first double-thread chain stitch sewing machine that can sew combinations of different materials such as textile leather, textile plastic and textile plastic zippers without changing the normal tension of the threads, thanks to our know-how. The end of the chain stitch seam is securely tacked. Thanks to our ideal Zarif 2023 sewing technology, it has become possible for the first time in the world to reduce the length of the double-thread chain stitch to 0.5 mm. This allows for a more secure tacking of the chain stitch seam end and prevents unraveling due to condensed stitches at a stitch length of 0.5 mm. Advanced capabilities for sewing thick materials. This groundbreaking sewing machine can sew materials up to 8 mm thick with a short needle bar stroke of 32 mm, thanks to our know-how. Breakthrough in needle stability for different materials. This revolutionary sewing machine can sew different materials without needle breakage and needle point deformation, achieved by the use of a rotary looper and a needle plate with a slot for the needle, coupled with the absence of a needle guards. Elimination of skipped stitches and unraveling. This pioneering sewing machine, thanks to our innovative design, can sew materials without a single skipped stitch, which is critical for chain stitch seams, as all types of chain stitch seams are prone to unraveling, both at the end of the seam if not securely tacked, and from the skipped stitch back to the beginning of the seam. No thread breaks. The first sewing machine capable of sewing through materials without thread breaks when low-strength threads and threads with knots are not used, thanks to the smooth tightening of the top and bottom threads with two rotary twin-disc cam thread take-ups and our know-how. High-quality chain stitch seams with no adjustments. For the first time in the world, we've used our know-how to achieve high-quality chain stitch seams without skipped stitches. All stitches are ideal tightened, regardless of the thickness, stiffness, or density of the material, simply by setting the normal thread tension for all threads, no further adjustments required. A new look for the chain stitch underside. For the first time ever, the underside of a chain stitch seam looks like a thick thread running along the seam instead of a chain. This breakthrough is made possible by our new double-thread chain stitch type 401, where the top thread and bottom thread loops are rotated 180 degrees. Introducing the new double-thread chain stitch type 401. The new double-thread chain stitch type 401 produced by Zarif sewing machine can completely replace the traditional double-thread chain stitch type 401, can also replace the lockstitch type 301 in large scale. Quality joining of different materials without adjustments. For the first time, our advanced technology allows to quality join materials of different thicknesses, densities, and stiffnesses with chain stitch without any adjustments during the sewing process, simply by setting the normal thread tension for all threads, thanks our know-how. Easy changeover to different needle sizes. The first sewing machine to increase the maximum distance between the needle and the looper tip to 0.5 mm, making it easy to change from one needle size to another, from number 130 to #60, without having to adjust the looper in relation to the needle. Adaptation to different materials. The world's first sewing machine that can efficiently sew a wide variety of materials with different thicknesses, densities, stiffness, and elasticity without any adjustments, as long as all threads are set to normal tension, thanks to our know-how. There is not a single skipped stitch and all the stitches are very well tightened. Our new double-thread chain stitch type 401, where the loops of the top and bottom threads are rotated 180 degrees. Secure tacking of the chain stitch seam end. The world's first double-thread chain stitch sewing machine, thanks to our know-how, makes it possible to reduce the length of the chain stitch by 0.5 mm, thus making the end of the chain stitch seam more secure against unraveling by condensing the stitches with a stitch length of 0.5 mm. The end of the chain stitch seam is securely tacked. Efficient sewing of mixed material combinations. Our advanced technology enables high-quality stitching of material combinations such as textile leather, textile plastic, and textile plastic zippers without the need to adjust the normal tension of the threads, thanks to the use of our know-how. For the first time, materials can be joined tightly with chain stitch. The world's first double-thread chain stitch sewing machine, thanks to the application of our know-how, is able to lock the top thread loop tightly in the stitch without changing the normal thread tension, resulting in a normal stitch that ensures a tight joining of materials for the first time in the world. Increased wear resistance of the chain stitch seam. Thanks to our know-how, the ability to lock the top thread loop tightly in the stitch not only makes it possible for the first time to join materials tightly with a double thread chain stitch, but also presses the stitch threads tightly against the surfaces of the materials being sewn, thus increasing the wear resistance of the chain stitch seam. Tightly joined materials made easy. Thanks to our know-how, it's now possible to join different materials tightly joined with chain stitch seams without having to adjust the normal thread tension. This is a revolution in sewing. More wear-resistant chain stitches. Our advanced technology presses the top and bottom of the chain stitch against the surface of the material, greatly increasing the wear resistance of the chain stitch. This is achieved by strong tightening the loop of the top thread in each stitch, thanks to the use of our know-how, another advance in sewing technology. For the first time, materials can be joined tightly with chain stitch. The world's first double-thread chain stitch sewing machine, thanks to the application of our know-how, is able to lock the top thread loop tightly in the stitch without changing the normal thread tension, resulting in a normal stitch that ensures a tight joining of materials for the first time in the world. Increased wear resistance of the chain stitch seam. Thanks to our know-how, the ability to lock the top thread loop tightly in the stitch not only makes it possible for the first time to join materials tightly with a double thread chain stitch, but also presses the stitch threads tightly against the surfaces of the materials being sewn, thus increasing the wear resistance of the chain stitch seam. Loosely tightening the top thread loop in a stitch to produce an elastic stitch. The world's first double-thread chain stitch sewing machine using our know-how can loosely be tightening the top thread loop in a stitch without changing the normal thread tension. The result is an elastic stitch that makes it possible for the first time to produce exceptionally smooth seams on lightweight materials and elastic seams on stretch materials. Efficient sewing of mixed material combinations. Our advanced technology enables high-quality stitching of material combinations such as textile leather, textile plastic, and textile plastic zippers without the need to adjust the normal tension of the threads, thanks to the use of our know-how. Tightly joined materials made easy. Thanks to our know-how, it's now possible to join different materials tightly joined with chain stitch seams without having to adjust the normal thread tension. This is a revolution in sewing. The end of the chain stitch seam is securely tacked. Our innovative prototype Zarif sewing machine has made it possible for the first time to sew materials up to 8 mm thick with a short needle bar stroke of 32 mm, thanks to the use of our know-how, making the machine universal for a wide range of materials. The thickness of various cross-linked materials consisting of 2 or more layers in a compressed state. The existing lockstitch, Type 301, and double-thread chain stitch, Type 401, technologies currently used for straight stitching have the following eternal disadvantages. Eternal disadvantages common to both existing sewing technologies. They cannot guarantee sewing without skipped stitches, thread breakage, and needle point deformation. They cannot sew qualitatively different materials with different thickness, density, stiffness, and elasticity without correction, after setting the normal thread tension for all threads. They are not able to sew materials up to 8 mm thick with a short needle bar stroke of 32 mm. They cannot easily change to different needle sizes, from number 130 needle to number 60 needle, without adjusting the hook or looper in relation to the needle. Eternal disadvantages specific to existing lockstitch technologies. Frequent bobbin changes due to the limited amount of bottom thread wound on the bobbin. Complex construction of all types of hooks consisting of many parts. Lubrication of the hook assembly is required due to the presence of a sliding zone in the hook. Jamming of the hook assembly when sewing thread or material debris enters the sliding zone, causing the machine to stop suddenly. Comparatively short life of all types of hook assemblies due to the presence of a sliding zone. Eternal disadvantages specific to existing double-thread chain stitch technologies which use 3 types of looper with an eyelet at the top for bottom thread insertion. They cannot tightly join materials with the double-thread chain stitch type 401, which limits its use. They cannot effectively sew combinations of different materials such as textile leather, textile plastic, etc., which limits their use. They require the use of a special needle with 2 long grooves, which is less resistant to longitudinal bending than a standard needle with 1 long groove. It is not possible to shorten the length of the double thread chain stitch to 0.5 mm in order to securely tack the end of the chain seam by condensing the stitches to a stitch length of 0.5 mm. The design of the sewing machine, which uses a looper with a complex movement, results in a very complicated mechanical construction. Our ideal Zarif 2023 year double thread chain stitch technology has revolutionized sewing machine design and straight stitch sewing. For the first time, a rotary looper is used to form a double thread chain stitch, resulting in the world's first new double thread chain stitch type 401, where the top and bottom thread loops are rotated 180 degrees. For the first time, an ordinary needle with a single long groove is used to form a double thread chain stitch, as the needle does not participate in the pre-tightens of the top thread loop placed in the previous stitch. For the first time, materials up to 8 mm thick can be sewn with a needle bar stroke of 32 mm. For the first time, it is possible to sew materials of different thickness, density, stiffness, and elasticity without any adjustments by setting the normal tension for all threads. For the first time, it is possible to sew without skipped stitches, thread breakage, needle breakage, and needle point deformation, provided the thread is free of knots and the needle size matches the material being sewn. For the first time, using our know-how, it is possible to tightly pull the top thread loop in a stitch to achieve a dense material join, or to loosely pull the top thread loop in a stitch to get smooth seams on light materials and elastic seams in stretchable materials without adjusting normal thread tension. For the first time, the maximum allowable gap between the needle and the tip of the looper has been increased to 0.5 mm, allowing an easy transition from a number 130 needle to a number 60 needle without adjusting the looper relative to the needle. For the first time, high stitch formation reliability has been achieved without the use of needle guards. For the first time, the length of the double thread chain stitch can be reduced to 0.5 mm, allowing the end of the chain stitch seam to be more securely tucked against unraveling by condensing the stitches with a stitch length of 0.5 mm. For the first time, it is possible to develop different types of sewing machines, with different types of platforms and different types of material feed, with a very simple mechanical design that operates with high reliability and long service life. History of Zarif double thread chain stitch technology with rotary looper. In 1994, we came up with the idea of creating a double thread chain stitch type 401 using a rotary looper. We applied for a patent for this new Zarif double thread chain stitch technology, and in 2000 US patent number 6095069 was granted. Before our invention, the rotary looper was used in the single thread chain stitch technology, type 101, on single thread chain stitch sewing machines and button machines. History records that the rotary looper was invented in 1857 by the American inventor James Edward Allen Gibbs for his single thread chain stitch sewing machine, based on the single thread chain stitch technology, type 101, where the rotary looper makes 1 revolution per needle cycle. See US patent number 17427. A rotary looper is a unique and the only tool in sewing technology that can rotate loops of thread around its body by turning them 180 degrees with its tail. As is known, the rotary looper is made in one piece and has 3 zones: the head zone with a front tip to catch the thread and a rear tip to release the thread loop from the body of the looper, the tail zone for rotating the thread loop through 180 degrees, and the shaft zone for attaching the looper to the machine. The use of the rotary looper in the Zarif double thread chain stitch technology has enabled us to create the world's first new double thread chain stitch type 401, in which the loops of the top and bottom threads are rotated by 180 degrees. The Zarif double thread chain stitch technology forms a double thread chain stitch type 401, where the rotary looper makes 2 revolutions per needle cycle. Zarif double thread chain stitch technology with rotary looper, invented by us in 1994, see US patent number 6095069. In the Zarif double thread chain stitch technology, the top thread is fed to the looper by a needle with a vertical reciprocating motion, as is usually done. To feed the bottom thread to the looper, a bottom thread pusher is used, which makes oscillating movements in the horizontal plane. Since the rotary looper can loop thread around its body in the form of a loop, once the bottom thread, fed by the bottom thread pusher, is caught by the front tip of the looper, the top thread loop leaves the looper body and, as it tightens, forms loop from the bottom thread which the looper can now wrap around its body. As the rotary looper only uses a small length of the thread loops and the thread loops are released from the rear tip of the looper, the thread loops can be tightened very smoothly. Therefore, the Zarif double thread chain stitch technology uses a 2 rotary twin disc cam thread take-ups to feed and tighten both the top and bottom threads, with each thread being controlled separately. History of the prototype development of the Zarif sewing machine based on Zarif double thread chain stitch technology with a rotary looper. In 1997, we decided to build a prototype sewing machine to test our new Zarif double thread chain stitch technology with a rotary looper, which we had invented in 1994. We chose a Class 1022 lockstitch industrial sewing machine from the Belarusian company Orsha because it was widely used in Uzbekistan at the time and was relatively affordable. The machine had a needle bar stroke of 32 mm and was designed to sew fabrics of medium thickness. After a thorough review of the machine's design, we successfully integrated our new Zarif sewing technology into the machine, retaining only the mechanisms of the material feed, presser foot, and needle. Thus, in 1997, we produced the world's first prototype of the Zarif double thread chain stitch sewing machine with rotary looper. Trials on a prototype Zarif sewing machine allowed us to identify some of the shortcomings of our new Zarif double thread chain stitch technology developed in 1994. We then set ourselves the goal of improving our new Zarif sewing technology until it became the world's first ideal technology for straight stitch sewing. We have reached our goal in 2023. For about 26 years we have been researching and developing, successfully implementing many innovations and testing them on a prototype Zarif sewing machine. And so, step by step, we have come closer to our world's first ideal Zarif double thread chain stitch technology with rotary looper for straight stitch sewing. Stitch type, working units, and technical specifications of the prototype Zarif sewing machine based on the ideal Zarif 2023 year double thread chain stitch technology with rotary looper. The world's first prototype of the Zarif 2023 year double thread chain stitch sewing machine has an extremely simple mechanical design and forms stitches with high reliability and durability. The use of 3 rotary working units in the machine, such as the rotary looper and 2 rotary thread take-ups, together with a simple crank slider mechanism for the needle and the absence of needle guards, has made it possible to create the world's first prototype of the Zarif sewing machine with a very simple mechanical design. In addition, the machine is the first in the world to allow easy switching between different needle sizes, from needle number 130 to needle number 60, without having to adjust the position of the looper relative to the needle, thanks to the world's first increase of the maximum allowable gap between the needle and the looper tip to 0.5 mm. In addition, the machine is very easy to maintain as all working units are mounted on the ends of the shafts and can be removed without dismantling other parts of the machine. Kinematic diagram of the prototype Zarif 2023 year double thread chain stitch sewing machine. Our automatic thread trimming technology for the Zarif double thread chain stitch technology with rotary looper. It is well known that most modern industrial sewing machines are equipped with automatic thread trimming, and all automated sewing systems require automatic thread trimming. With this in mind, we have long been researching and developing automatic thread trimming technology for our Zarif double thread chain stitch technology with rotary looper. Thanks to these efforts, we successfully invented the automatic thread trimming technology for our Zarif double thread chain stitch technology with rotary looper in 2020, and further improved it in 2021 and 2023. The advanced version of our automatic thread trimming technology, which we invented in 2023, has not yet been physically manufactured to ensure its practical functionality. However, the drawings of our automatic thread trimming technology prove that it works in theory. At present we cannot disclose the details of our automatic thread trimming technology as it is not yet patented. However, we can say that the top and bottom threads are trimmed under the needle plate, with the bottom thread end remaining clamped under the needle plate after trimming. This eliminates the need to rethread the bottom thread when moving to the next sewing operation. If the sewing process is finished with condensed stitches of 0.5 mm stitch length and manual thread trimming, the resulting chain stitch seam will be difficult to unravel from the end of the seam. If the sewing process is finished with condensation stitches at a stitch length of 0.5 mm and with automatic thread trimming, the resulting chain stitch seam cannot be unraveled from the end of the seam, as the end of the top thread passes through the last loop of the bottom thread. Our ideal Zarif 2023 year double thread chain stitch technology with rotary looper opens a new era in the development of automated straight stitch sewing. It is well known that the future of mass production in various sewing industries is closely linked to automation, and the automation of sewing processes plays an important role in this transformation. Currently, some sewing operations are already being automated using robotic manipulator-controlled sewing systems. In the future, these robotic manipulators may be replaced by more advanced humanoid robots. When it comes to automated sewing, it is essential that the process is performed to a high standard, ensuring that there are no skipped stitches, thread breakage, needle breakage, and deformation of the needle point. Efficient sewing of different materials without the need for adjustments is also critical to the automation of the sewing process. Our ideal Zarif 2023 year double thread chain stitch technology with rotary looper for straight stitch sewing is the perfect solution to meet all these requirements. Our prototype Zarif sewing machine has proven this in practice, but only when the material is fed in one direction. This allows us to create different automatic sewing systems based on this technology, where the material is fed in a single direction. However, there are many sewing operations where the stitch must follow a complex path. In such cases, stitch formation must be independent of the material feed direction. With this in mind, we have been working for a long time to develop a device that would allow our Zarif double thread chain stitch technology with rotary looper to produce stitches regardless of the direction of material feed. As a result of our efforts, we were able to invent this device in 2020, improve it in 2021 and complete the final refinements in 2023. Although we have not yet built and tested the device, our drawings show that it theoretically works. Patent protection for our inventions that we invented in 2023. We intend to secure patents in several countries around the world for all our inventions developed in 2023, including the ideal Zarif double thread chain stitch technology with rotary looper, automatic thread trimming technology and the device that allows stitch formation with material feed in any direction. Advantages and disadvantages of lockstitch type 301 and double thread chain stitch type 401. Comparison of technologies for forming various stitches for sewing with a straight seam. Comparison of technologies for forming various stitches for sewing with a straight seam. Application of the revolutionary ideal Zarif 2023 year double thread chain stitch technology with a rotary looper that forms stitches in only one direction. Our prototype Zarif sewing machine, based on the ideal Zarif 2023 year double thread chain stitch technology with rotary looper, has proven its ability to perform straight stitching with material feed in only one direction and a stitch length ranging from 0.5 mm to 5 mm. In addition, we have developed a technical solution that allows the stitch length to be increased to 10 mm. Based on our ideal Zarif 2023 year double thread chain stitch technology, which forms stitches in only one direction, the following machines can be designed and manufactured. Various industrial sewing machines with different types of platforms and material feed mechanisms. Various automated sewing systems with material feed in one direction only. A range of programmable automatic pattern sewing machines with a 360 degrees rotating head that can feed material in any direction to create complex stitch patterns. Application of the revolutionary ideal Zarif 2023 year double thread chain stitch technology with a rotary looper, forming stitches in any direction. If the device we invented in 2023, which enables our ideal Zarif 2023 year double thread chain stitch technology with a rotary looper to form stitches with material feed in any direction, works successfully in practice, the following automated machines can be designed and manufactured on the basis of it, enabling the production of complex stitch patterns. Various conventional programmable automatic pattern sewing machines, without a 360-degree rotating head. Various automated sewing systems. Single and double head quilting machines. Can our revolutionary ideal Zarif 2023 year double thread chain stitch technology with a rotary looper become obsolete in the future? We are confident that this will not happen. Our confidence is based on the following undeniable facts. The eternal disadvantages of the existing sewing technologies currently used for straight stitch sewing, such as the lockstitch type 301 and the double thread chain stitch type 401, prevent them from becoming the ideal solution for straight stitch sewing, no matter how much they evolve in the future. Furthermore, the invention of an ideal straight stitch sewing technology can only be achieved by creating a new double thread chain stitch technology that eliminates the eternal disadvantages of existing sewing technologies. Since it is technically impossible to invent an ideal straight stitch sewing technology by developing a new lockstitch technology without using a hook. However, the task of inventing a new double thread chain stitch technology and making it the ideal solution for straight stitch sewing is a very challenging one. All previous attempts to invent a new double thread chain stitch technology and make it the ideal solution for straight stitch sewing were unsuccessful. For example, the new double thread chain stitch technology using a special hook, see US patent number 3811392, 1974, was never commercialized. We believe that any new double thread chain stitch technology using a special hook cannot become an ideal solution for sewing due to the complexity of the special hook design and the need for lubrication. We were the first in the world to invent the new Zarif double thread chain stitch technology with rotary looper in 1994, which was granted US patent number 6095069 in 2000. It took us about 26 years to make this new Zarif sewing technology the world's first ideal straight stitch sewing technology. Threaded material joining is known to be the most universal method, as it allows for high-quality joining of different types of materials and their combinations in multiple layers, something that cannot be achieved with threadless material joining methods such as welding and bonding. Therefore, threading is likely to remain the main method of joining different materials in the future, as it is today. Our ideal Zarif 2023 year sewing technology aims to make thread-based joining more attractive and universal. Thank for watching. Subscribe to our YouTube channel.